Quý độc giả thân mến, chào mừng các bạn đến với tủ sách giúp học tốt tiếng Anh The Winnie thuộc công ty cổ phần sách MC Books. Chúng tôi xin trân trọng giới thiệu cuốn sách Luyện nói tiếng Anh như người bản ngữ của tác giả nổi tiếng, giáo viên số 1 thế giới, thầy A.J. Holt. Do công ty cổ phần sách MC Books giữ bản quyền xuất bản và phát hành ấn phẩm độc quyền tại thị trường Việt Nam. Thầy A.J. Holt hiện là tiến sĩ ngôn ngữ nổi tiếng người Mỹ và là giảng viên có bằng Master of Textual Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages, đã giảng dạy tại nhiều trường đại học trên thế giới. Ông là cha đẻ người sáng lập ra hệ thống phương pháp học tiếng Anh dễ dàng Effortless English nổi tiếng trên toàn thế giới và cũng chính là giám đốc của Effortless English Club. Thầy đã tìm ra phương pháp Effortless English, một phương pháp học tiếng Anh hiệu quả theo quy trình tự nhiên nhất với mục tiêu nói tiếng Anh lưu loát, dễ dàng và tự động. Effortless English tập trung nhiều vào kỹ năng nghe tiếng Anh, và khi khả năng nghe của bạn được nâng cao thì khả năng nói cũng dễ dàng phát triển. Phương pháp này áp dụng theo cách tiếp cận ngôn ngữ của một đứa trẻ, đó là học nghe trước. Khi bạn nghe tiếng Anh trở nên quen thuộc, bạn sẽ nói ra một cách tự tin, tự nhiên và trôi chảy. Quan trọng hơn, các sinh viên cảm thấy tự tin, mạnh dạn khi nói tiếng Anh sau một thời gian tiếp cận Effortless English. Hiện nay, hàng triệu sinh viên và người học tiếng Anh trên thế giới đã và đang thành công với phương pháp hiện đại này. Họ có thể nói tiếng Anh một cách lưu loát, dễ dàng và tự động. Quan trọng hơn, các sinh viên cảm thấy tự tin, mạnh dạn khi nói tiếng Anh sau một thời gian tiếp cận Effortless English. Từ thành công đó, A.J. Holt quyết định ra mắt phiên bản sách tham khảo Effortless English chuyên sâu với tên gọi Learn to Speak English Like a Native, luyện nói tiếng Anh như người bản ngữ. Cuốn sách đã chỉ ra nguyên nhân khiến nhiều bạn trẻ luôn cảm thấy lo lắng và sợ hãi khi phải giao tiếp tiếng Anh là do cách học không hiệu quả bởi. Rất nhiều nghiên cứu chỉ ra rằng 80% thành công của việc tiếp thu kiến thức là dựa vào tâm lý, chỉ 20% còn lại mới là phương pháp học. Chính vì vậy, Effortless English sẽ giúp người học có được tâm lý học luôn thoải mái, hào hứng, từ đó tiếp thu kiến thức dễ dàng và có được kết quả học tập thành công đến bất ngờ.
Hi, I'm A.J. Hogue, the author of Effortless English, Learn to Speak English Like a Native. What is effortless English? Well, it's a system. In this book, I teach you a complete system to speak English like a native speaker, like an American, a Canadian, or a British person. I mean, have you ever felt embarrassed by your English? You try to speak English, but you can't get the words out. Or maybe you speak to an American or a Canadian, and they can't understand you. They can't understand your pronunciation. And then you feel stupid. You feel embarrassed. Maybe just frustrated because after years and years of learning English, you still can't speak well. Well, in this book, I teach you a complete system to solve those problems and speak English like a native. The book teaches you how to learn vocabulary 4 to 5 times faster, how to learn grammar so you can actually use it when you speak. The way you learn grammar in school does not work. It hurts your speaking. The book teaches you a much better way. And, very importantly, the psychology, so that you learn how to feel strong and confident and relaxed when you speak English, so that the words will come out easily, just as they do when you speak Vietnamese. Who is this book for? Well, it's for business executives who need English for business or for their career to improve their jobs. It's for government officials who also need English because they need to communicate with people all around the world. And it's for students, especially secondary students, high school students, and university students. I'm very happy that MC Books is the exclusive publisher of the Vietnamese version of Effortless English, Learn to Speak English Like a Native. I'm happy that you, too, will finally learn to speak English like a native. Enjoy the book, and I hope to meet you someday in Vietnam. Bye for now.
Hi, I'm AJ Hogue, the director of Effortless English. And welcome to the free 7 Rules email course. Today is Rule 1. Now, Rule 1 is learn English phrases, not individual words. This one, just like all the other rules, is very simple, very easy. And like the other rules, this rule is very, very powerful. So simple, so powerful. What is the rule? The rule is always learn phrases, not individual words. So simple. So a phrase is a group of words. It's not, you can have a whole sentence, but it's even a part of a sentence. So for example, let's say you have the word hate. H-A-T-E, hate. And you want to learn this new word. You can, just write down the word hate, and then you find in your dictionary the meaning, and then you memorize it. Hate, 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 hate. That's the old way. That's the kind of textbook way, the school way. Right? In school, you probably remembered a lot of individual words. You had those big vocabulary lists, and you're trying to memorize all of them, trying to remember all these individual single words. It's not a good way to learn. Much better if you learn a phrase, a group of words. And where do you find these phrases? You find these phrases in the Real English podcast that you're listening to, in the Real English storybooks that you're reading. So you don't memorize a list in a book. No, no, no. You listen to Real English, and when you hear a new word, you write it down. Or when you're reading a storybook and you see a new word, you write it down. But do not just write down that word. You want to write down the whole phrase or sentence that it's in. All of it. So instead of saying hate, and you just write down hate, you would write down John hates ice cream. You write down the whole phrase. Why do we do this? What's the power of phrases? Well, phrases give you a lot of information, much more information. Number one, phrases are easier to remember because they have meaning. They have a kind of a picture, a story, especially when you get them from something that you're reading or listening to. You'll remember it. John hates ice cream. You remember the whole story. You remember who John is. You remember that he had ice cream, and then you remember he hated it. He didn't like it. Right? So you have all these extra pieces of information. All this extra information helps you remember the meaning of the phrase and the meaning of that word. So it helps your memory. Much easier to remember. Number 2, there's a bonus. When you learn phrases, you are learning grammar also. You're not only learning an individual word, you're learning grammar. You're learning how to use that word correctly. You don't need to think about the grammar. You don't need to know the rules. It's automatic. This is another way that native speakers learn English grammar. Because when we're children, we learn with phrases. We learn groups of words, not just one word by one word by one word. Word by word is slow and it doesn't help. And you don't learn any grammar. But when you learn a whole phrase, you write down the phrase, you're getting extra information. Maybe you don't know it, but you are. For example, John hates ice cream. Just that word, that S on the end, hates, right? John hates. Well, you know from grammar study that, you're making the subject and the verb agree. But you don't need to think about that. Just write down the phrase, John hates ice cream. And study it and review it. Always learn the phrase, not just that word. And so in the future, whenever you say, he hates ice cream, she hates ice cream, you will add that S, the S, right? Because that's how you learned it. You learned it correctly. You learned it from a phrase. On the other hand, if you learn it from a textbook, you just learn the word hate, it means does not like, and you only learn that form, hate, 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 and you study it, you study it, you study it, you memorize it. That's when you start making mistakes, because you learned it only this one way. You didn't learn it with other words. So sometimes you'll say, he hate ice cream. You'll forget the S because you never learned it correctly in a sentence, in a phrase. So this is a very simple rule, our last rule in the course. Very, very important. Every time you find a new word, always, always, always write the phrase or the sentence. When you review that word again, when you study it again, always, always, always study the entire phrase or sentence. Never study just the word. Always the whole phrase. Do this every time, your grammar will begin to improve. It'll improve much faster. And you'll remember the vocabulary faster and more easily, and you will use that vocabulary more quickly. So you get a lot of great benefits. A lot of great stuff happens when you learn phrases instead of words. So phrases, phrases, phrases. Learn them. I hope you enjoyed rule number 1. Use this rule. Now your homework is to get a little phrase notebook. So when you find new English vocabulary in a lesson, in something you're listening to, in a book, in an article, write down the phrase, not just one word. Write down the entire whole phrase that you find, and then review that phrase again and again each day. And you will create a notebook full of phrases, full of sentences, not individual words, never an individual word. Okay, so that's rule 1. Tomorrow you get another email with rule number 2. So I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Hi, this is AJ Hogue again, the director of Effortless English. And today we're going to learn about rule number 2. Now, rule number 2 is a surprise for many people. Rule number 2 is simple. Do not study grammar rules. Do not do it. Now, I know this is a tough rule for some people because most of your life learning English, you have been told to learn grammar rules. In middle school, in high school, in university, in language schools, everywhere in the world, grammar, 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 grammar. So my first question to you is, did it work? Was it successful? If you're watching this video, you have studied English before in school, somewhere. And probably you focused a lot on grammar rules. So my question is, can you speak English easily, quickly, and automatically right now? If the answer is no, why not? Because you have studied English for many years already. Why can't you speak quickly, easily, and automatically? Why not? Well, it's not your fault, actually. The reason, the answer for most people, is that you studied grammar rules too much. You focused on grammar rules. Why? Because your teachers told you to. Why is it bad to study grammar rules? Well, because when you study grammar rules, when you focus on grammar rules, you focus on analyzing English. In other words, you think about English. You think about the past tense, the present tense, the future, the present perfect, the past perfect. Now, for writing English, that's okay. Why? Because when you write English, you have time. You can go slowly. You can write very slowly. You can think about it. You can erase your mistake. It's okay. You don't need to write fast. But for speaking, there's no time. You do not have time to think about the rules for the present perfect.